Hello and welcome to Inside Salem. I'm your host, Mike Allen. On this show, we examine in more detail the headlines about local politics, including some of the things in the state that affect the city. And for that purpose, we have assembled a team of experts. We have Teasie Riley-Goggin, political analyst.
I enjoy being here.
We have Domingo Dominguez, former councilor at large.
Thank you, Mike. Glad to be here.
Tom Furey, former school committee member, former councilor at large, and current planning board member.
Thank you.
And attorney Jim Fleming, former Ward 6 city councilor and former school committee member.
Good to be here, Mike.
Okay. And on this show, as I say, we discuss local and state politics, mostly local, and we have a no presidential politics zone. So that we will not be discussing. Okay, so some of the topics
might change next month.
So some of the topics we will be talking about today is the smart growth overlay zoning, as it's named, the housing complex at Canal Street, where Bertini's was, has broken ground. They also have broken ground on the wind mill area, and City Council increases tour guide fees and other topics as time allows. But before we start off with these things, a couple of announcements to make. One, the Friends of Salem Council on Aging is going to have a fundraiser, which is a pasta dinner. It'll be held on Thursday, September 19th at we refer to it as a senior center, but the Community Life Center. To purchase tickets, you can contact Rosanna at 978-744-0924. That's 978-744-0924. The price is $15 prepaid, $12 for senior. That's a pasta dinner fundraiser. The other thing I'd like to announce, there's a group for Citizens for a Better Salem, and they're doing a petition drive in front of the post office this Saturday, the 24th. The show is being taped on Wednesday, the 21st. They'll be doing it in front of the post office from 10 a.m. to noon time, and the petition is Say No to Warehousing in Chapter 40R. And it's a group that is formed to fight this. It's called Citizens for a Better Salem. Okay, first topic I'd like to jump into is the smart growth overlay zoning. The purpose of this, as an outsider looking in, is so that the shelter, what is it called, the Cromwell shelter, can expand and build a major project because it's not zoned for that. That seems to be the main reason why they're doing this. Is that? Am I going
well, the big thing is, in my humble opinion, and the opinion of many hundreds that have attended the last meeting that we had on it, was the fact that the shelter that they want to put in it's the old model, where you're not really and truly, putting anything new other than what they have at the present time. And that's almost, it sounds like, it's the same thing. They give people who are sober a bed at night, and in the morning, they have them do a couple of little chores cleaning up, and then they put them out on the street. They can only house so many people. They want it from 75 to 175. They also have on Canal Street, where they have a thrift shop now, where they have an old garage there. They added, first it was 50 beds, they looked like cradles, and then it was another 25. And the hot days are practically over 100 degrees in those places. They had 50, and then it was 75 beds that these people were sleeping in. The difference was on Canal Street, that was not necessary to be a dry shelter, which meant if you had been drinking, you could get a bed there. But the shelter that they're building right now is taking over. This is the thing. This overlay, it's going to crush Italian town over there. All of the lovely homes and all of the people that have lived there over hundreds of years who came here and helped settle the city of Salem. They're going to be pushed right out, right out. They will be blocked. The overlay, it is an overload.
Yes, in my recollection, back when I used to be in the city council, I remember that conversation coming to private meeting that we have with the developers and the Light Bridge directors, and I mentioned in a couple of instances that we need to balance whatever we do in Salem. Remember, we have visited Salem, visit the city, but we have businesses and we have residents. So we have to make sure that whatever we do to alleviate one side, we see the whole picture. The whole picture tells me, common sense, that if we develop that project in the middle of a common neighborhood, nearby few businesses, that's going to create some hardship to those group of people. So we need to find a formula, because I know the homeless situation need to be attended. There's no doubt. We need to do something. The government need to do something. The residents need to do something. But we cannot do anything in the expenses of the group. We need to make sure that we balance. So that project needs to be looked at from another perspective, I think. The way that Teasie mentioned it is, it is too big and too, I think that with that project, not even the homeless going to benefit, the business people are also going to benefit, and not even the residents, and the whole city is going to be a chaos. This is a visiting city. Traffic going to be impacted big time. We're going to have parking, which is an issue already in that area. So we need to make sure that we look at it from another perspective. That's my
Yeah, the
humble
thing
opinion.
too is the shelter like you're talking about, they're talking about, it's more of a regional. It's not like we're saying, okay, each community should set up and do for their own homeless people. And it should include, this shelter starts at 18 and over. That means they do not include any families in this type of shelter that they're putting up here in Salem. Peabody has some help for the families, but Salem has nothing. Okay. Salem likes being the first in a lot of things, and they step up to the plate when they're not ready, you know. If they had done what they had down on Fort Lee Terrace, they had little brick buildings with 4 little apartments in them, and a place outside for people to park their cars. That was an excellent idea. That's how they should be building now. The little houses that they're talking about. But here in Salem, with this overlay, and with these developers moving in and taking over, we don't have room left in this city.
Yes.
We just don't.
Jim, did you?
I just fear that the use of this, what's it called?
Overlay?
Overlay.
Yeah, the use of this overlay is, if we allow it here, it could be substantially bad for the rest of the city. There's always an effort to then take, you allow it down in the Italian neighborhood, we should be able to have it here in North Salem. And that's wrong. That's wrong. Second thing is, though, this is not the first time that the Italian neighborhood has been pushed around. That was decimated. The Italian neighborhood was decimated in the earlier part of the 20th century to build a post office. I mean, decimated.
Huh.
2 roads were built that never should have affected that neighborhood that badly.
So when they built the post office, that displaced a lot of people?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you look it up in history, it's one of the most displacement that ever occurred relative to development.
Okay. Tom, you're on the planning board. What is this project
this project is, or this overlay is coming before you people, how is it being received? Well, zoning is like an elephant in the room. It's awfully hard to do anything with that elephant in the room. It's very hard to change the zoning. Councilor Arthur Sargent is a real expert. He's coming to a meeting very soon. With Teasie will be attending a meeting.
Well, could I ask you, Tom, because I was going to bring
Let me
that.
finish what I asked him first. Before
No,
you ask him
no, no.
something,
I
let me
just
finish
wanted to congratulate him
Okay.
on how he spoke up for things that affect what you're talking about here, the overlay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Tom.
So zoning is the elephant, and
Yeah.
it's only one tool. This overlay district is not the cure, not the panacea,
Yeah.
not the magic wand that's going to cure the housing project for homeless, whether it's St. Mary's church area, the old Italian. I was a park instructor on High Street Playground many moons ago. It's a hot top park. It's a hot top park. During the wintertime, it's all parking. High Street Playground. That whole area was very, very residential area, 1, 2, 3 stories high. So the nearest playground was High Street, then Broad Street Playground. I was a playground instructor there near the middle school, Collins Middle School. So it's a very congested area, and the homeless shelter is there. I tried very, very hard many moons ago, and some of you may remember, when I was on the city council, I wanted the council on aging downtown. I worked very hard during the youth administration trying to get the old AT&T building, 10 Pedal Street. The Social Security office was there. Dr. Ryan had an office.
Great building.
State Senator Joan Lovely had an office there. Pioneers has an office there. A great building. So I tried very hard to get that. That sank. So I tried. My second alternative was the Council on Aging at St. Mary's Church. I tried very hard to put it there in downtown area, but it was shut down. And lo and behold, you have to be careful what you wish for. So they turned that down, the Council on Aging, which would have been next to Seas Market, downtown Salem, walk to the train station, walk to the movies and Social Security offices, and downtown, which would have been really neat. So we wouldn't be here if we put the Council on Aging downtown. But right now, that's passed. So we have to go past that. So this overlay district is got to do something positive, I hope, positive, not the magic wand, to create a possibility of housing for senior citizens. A lot of single family people, a lot of single people like myself in their 70s and their seniors need a residential place, not big apartment, maybe a 1-room place or 2-room place. And this one is going to have one building specifically set for senior citizens to live there in a 1-room place with a bathroom facility of their own. And they're going to build there. And I think the Columbus Society is going to move. The High Street Playground will have modifications. So that whole neighborhood will be drastically changed. But nobody wants a homeless shelter in their backyard. The old Crombie Street shelter on Crombie Street, nobody wanted it there. It's artist studios now, artist studios right there. So
But the thing is it's more than just we don't want a homeless shelter in our backyard. We don't want this massive project in our backyard either. And I'm saying that the editorial hour because I don't live in that neighborhood. But the residents don't want a this mammoth building in their neighborhood. It has nothing to do with the homeless shelter. They have the homeless shelter now. They're not trying to drive out the homeless shelter. What they're trying to do is keep the homeless shelter from driving them out. Okay. Jim, what did you?
Yeah, I just have a short comment. Tom touched on it briefly. One of the big losers in this regard, relative to whether this is defeated, will be the Italian Club. The Italian Club has a deal with the developer to develop part of the old building. I think it's a 99-year lease, and it'll be a rejuvenated space for the Italian Club, which is a wonderful, wonderful organization. So they'll be the loser, and I hope that if there is a defeat here, that there's somebody come up with an alternative for the Italian Club.
Okay.
Because it's only 7/10 of an acre.
The whole project is going to be on 7/10 of an acre?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole project?
That's
And how many
all-
units
that's
are
all
talking
right.
about there?
I think so.
What's that?
They haven't mentioned exactly how many.
I don't. I'm guessing too, but it's not big.
Okay.
It's
My thing, the resident concerns are the program that they're going to follow through. I think that Teasie mentioning that the model that they want to bring in, which is a regional, will bring a lot of chaos to the area, and we will not really solve the situation. We will not solve the situation for the homeless population that we have in Salem. We bring more, and actually everybody's going to be discomfort,
Yeah,
and
well,
nobody's going to have the
I mean,
solution.
that's a question I have, and this is obviously a rhetorical question. Why is it that Salem is the one that needs to provide all the housing because the north of Boston has demand, and it's not being done in other communities where we're far more densely packed? Why is it that we're going to be the place that solves the homeless problem? I don't understand why Salem is this dumping ground for these state programs.
Well, call your lieutenant governor and ask her.
Ah, okay.
I had to say that had to do with some state regulation that wanted Salem to become the way they want it to be. So it's actually not really the local resident who decide. It's actually the state at the state level to make sure that Salem provide whatever need to be the sample, so all the citizens in town can follow it through.
Okay.
I mean, can you really and truly compare Fort Lee Terrace with the little brick houses down there and the sea breezes and everything and the community room, and now all of a sudden they wipe that out and they put a high rise up? I mean, you know, it's like Rantoul Street. New York people are used to living that way. That's how they grew up. That's what they used to utilize the amount of space they had. But here in Salem, they used to be space, but now look at what's happened to our city already, and it's getting worse. Yeah.
I think that the waterfront has been misused. Now, when this new power plant was built, there was going to be cleared land, and I guess it's just a windmill operation that is utilizing it. Nothing else is going in there. That would have been a very, very attractive place to build some very small units.
Okay, but the problem with that is, if I own that power plant, I wouldn't let a resident build anywhere near me, because there's a church over in Danvers was operating they did for fundraising. They did lumber. They sold chopped wood so that you could put it in a wood stove, etc. And they did it for years. And all of a sudden, this housing project builds up next to them, and all of a sudden they start complaining about the noise and stuff that this church did, which have been doing for years, and now they can't. They had to shut down the operation. So if I'm the power station, I don't want to hear neighbors complain. So it's not worth it to sell a few housing lots compared to.
You could have done a lot with conditions in the sale. You know, if you have the opportunity to put restrictions in a deed, that would have been the time.
Okay, but remember this: where the senior center is, where the community life center is, there's restrictions in that deed regarding housing.
That's a bogus project.
Oh, right, it is. But
where is the developer? Where is the rest of?
It's been almost 20 years.
Over. Oh, I mean, that's.
Well, it hasn't been over because Mayor Jessup got elected in 2004.
It's more like
it hasn't been over 20 years. It's been very close to 20 years.
About 15 years.
Yeah. And the thing is this: you have that project, that went by the wayside that they were going to build, and it had conditions on it. You also have conditions on. There was another project in mind that they put conditions on that were then voted out. So the conditions, I don't think for the Forfad condos up on First Street, when they built that, there was a condition that they would be paying for private trash removal. Not anymore, because the condo people, the owners of the condo association which was now the new owners rather than Furey, sued the city and won.
Well,
and
and
got
that
the
was going to happen. That was a silly promise,
yeah.
and that should not
Well,
have
I know,
been.
but again, it was in the deeds. So I just, so we can say anything is a silly promise. Oh, it's a silly promise that we're not going to sell the power plant. We didn't know it was that noisy, or whatever.
You can't deprive 500 people or so city services such as that.
Oh, I'm not arguing either side or the other. I'm just arguing that having a codicil in there, fancy word for a restriction. Is that correct? Am I correct in my
you're
legal
right.
term there?
That's
Okay. To have the codicil in there, and it doesn't stop something from going forward. Again, the city of Salem approved 111 or 117 condos for the corner of Bridge and Boston. I don't know why it didn't get built, but it was approved. And again, there was a restriction on the property that said no residential there, because of the whole forever pollution things for Sylvania. It wasn't worth it to them to make a few extra bucks on their property if they're going to be sued for pollution somewhere down the road by, residents like Love Canal.
But they
in
did
New York, which many people who are too young to know what Love Canal is in New York, Google it.
But that building, whether it were apartments and then later on down the line, they had to have that business things. They even talked about a restaurant. And that's where, as you talk all the time, Mike, that's where the senior center was going to go, and it was going to be a condo. And then it waited so long, and then the mayor just decided she wanted something built. It looked good on her resume. And so this happened about 5 years ago, the one down there now. It was approved to build one with a vapor barrier in it.
Okay.
And supposedly, the senior center, the COA building, also has a vapor barrier in it.
Okay.
Right, supposedly. Yeah.
Okay.
This overlay district not only affects the shelter, the homeless shelter, it will affect Salem State campus, the Salem State South Campus development, because that's in a single family development area in that Ward 7 area.
Okay.
And it's going to affect the Shetland Park area down by Congress Street in your area.
That was part of my point, and I think that this petition that we're going to see in front of the post office that you just mentioned at the beginning of the show
Yes.
had to do with this. So people who are watching, who actually are not agree with the 40R zoning thing that we're talking about here, make sure that they come and sign that petition.
Yeah.
Or either way, you are in favor. But at the end of the day, I think the people need to realize that whatever they do is going to affect the quality of life in Salem for everyone here.
Yeah. Again, when we build one of these projects, it's drawing more people into the city of Salem. It's not alleviating anything. People say, oh, there's such a problem in Salem for housing. Well, okay, fine. But when they're building these projects, they're bringing in people from outside. Now, that's fine, and that's legal and all that. But the whole impetus for approving the project was based on the fact that Salem has a need. Well, if you bring in all people from the outside, it hasn't changed Salem need. And Jim has said on multiple occasions is that in the past 20 years we've built zero low-income housing. We've had some units that were built in, a unit that has several units in it that are low-income, mandated, etc. But there's been no low-income housing like a Salem Heights and 1,000 Loring Ave and behind on First Street. I don't know what that's called. Pequot Islands. I mean, nothing built like that.
That's a shame. It really is.
But the other thing, too, is Salem Housing, as you just say here, Salem Housing used to have, they had Rainbow Terrace, they had Dalton, right? They had Morenci.
They don't have Salem. They don't have Rainbow Terrace anymore.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but right now, Salem Housing is not just Salem Housing. It's more like regional housing, and almost like, honest to God, it sounds almost like international, because you could be in Alaska and have your name on the list here in Salem. That's legal. They do it all the time.
Yeah.
We
okay.
do not have housing enough for the needs of the people. The list is so long that if you were smart, when you if you put your name on the list when you decide that you're old enough to vote, and you put
And then maybe you'll get housing with that.
right, yes.
Wasn't Rainbow Terrace originally built for veterans?
Correct.
Yes.
Rainbow Terrace and Garden Terrace on North Street. Both were built solely for veterans.
Okay.
First generation, all veterans were living in there.
Right.
I had
Okay.
a couple of relatives myself in that house.
Yeah.
Then they started to mix it, and that destroyed substantial good neighborhoods made by good citizens,
Yeah.
veterans who have served in World War II and Korea.
I know a maintenance guy for the student union at Salem State when I was going there lived in Rainbow Terrace. It was very convenient for him because he just cut through with the backyard and went there.
It's a shame.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
And,
And, also
you know,
the place
and there was
on
never a
off of
thought-
North Street, you said as well?
Yeah, Garden
And that's a
Terrace.
lot smaller than
Yes,
Rainbow
yeah,
Terrace.
small,
It's really
small.
large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are very few veterans in there now. Both places,
Very few.
very few
That's right,
veterans.
that's right,
And it's
that's
a
shame.
sad indictment that maybe the development of Salem State University on the South Campus will have some housing for the veterans. It's critical to veterans housing, very critical. And this would be an opportunity in this overlay district to mandate veterans housing.
Yeah, but it's not followed. I mean, in other words, they just do another. They do a variance, and then as soon as that variance comes in, they do another variance. So they keep moving the goalpost. You know,
But Salem is
again,
only 8 square miles. And
Right.
you got a district like, say, the Shetland Park, which is an overlay district currently in the works. You've got the, let's go see, 2 or 3 districts being a housing situation there, Salem State. You got to have some flexibility. Zoning is a tough nut to crack.
Okay, but okay, but again, if someone buys a piece of property or moves into a
You
neighborhood,
should be able
I
to
mean, they have
defend-
sort of an implied contract that the
Right,
neighborhood
you
is
should
going to be, a uniform neighborhood, and then to pull the rug out from under it just seems unfair. Obviously, it's
Yes.
legal because they're doing it all the time, but it seems unfair, certainly. Speaking of projects, the Bertini's project, I'll call it as, 250 housing units on Canal Street, sort of between Canal and Jefferson, has broken ground. Tom, you want to update us on what that?
5 buildings, 240 units, as you said,
Yeah.
moderate to low income housing, right along the
How many?
About 240.
How many?
5 buildings.
How much low-income housing?
Most of it will be moderate and low, very few high.
Okay.
All 5 buildings.
Okay.
So there'll be a swimming pool, outdoor swimming pool,
Yeah.
a walking area near the walking trail itself, right near the possibility near the train stop, new train stop for Salem State University, for people to go to Boston or Gloucester or whatever,
Yeah.
come back to Salem State University. So that's already in the works now. That's already ground broken. That's being done now. 95 North Street was just passed the last city planning board meeting, and that's right across the street from HMA Car Wash on North Street, right near the overpass. That's going to have about 65 units of housing, mostly
How
moderate.
big is the
high.
building though?
Pardon?
How big is that building?
About 65 units.
Yeah, how
Wait, no.
big is the building?
4 stories high.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, because that's everything in that area was 2 stories, isn't it?
Absolutely.
2 stories with a
absolutely.
peaked roof, so
And
maybe
if you
some
want an example,
dormers.
go down to Franklin Street.
And TC and I totally agree on the issue on 95 North Street and
Canal Street.
Bertini's. The whole first floor of those buildings, 95 North Street
Yeah.
and Bertini's, the whole first floor is all garage space. And guess what? All of the garage spaces, the first floor, have windows. So when it floods in with a 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch storm, the water will go right in to those parking areas, and they'll be floating. The cars will be floating. So I voted against the 95 North Street, and I voted against Bertini's because it's going to be a major problem. We all know Connecticut just recently had 9 inches of rain the state of Connecticut in rain. 9 inches in a quick flash storm this week. That's going to happen in Salem eventually, a 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch storm. So the North River Canal will flood over and flood those brand new area.
Right, yeah.
High-end apartments there, more high-end.
Yeah.
The Salem Suede, which was torn down, and now it's another development is further away near Mason Street. That won't be flooded. But 95 North Street is right on the canal. You wouldn't want your dog to fall into the North River Canal. You wouldn't want to fall into yourself the North River Canal.
I swam there in the 60s.
You did. There we go. You survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, when one of the meetings I was at for Commercial Street down there, I mean, I put my name in. I want to open up when they build, you know, the businesses in the bottom floor there. I want to open up a canoe shop and rubber rafts because, you know.
Well, I thank you, Tom, once again. I think you use your common sense on seeing exactly that project, even though it's look good on paper, actually it's going to have some risk for the residents that live there. And someone had to speak out. And I know how you feel, being the only one voting against, but at the end of the day, you can see yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I did the right thing.
You're
Something
right.
happened.
You're right.
Thank you.
Something happened. They cannot blame
You
you.
did the same thing in the city council. We have to speak up.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not easy, let me tell you. Being the only one is not easy, but at the end of the day, that's the only thing that prevails, and that's what you are there for.
It's hard to get flood insurance these days, and those people going into 95 North Street, Bertini's 240 units.
Like you
Won't
said,
realize about
yeah,
the flooding situation.
the flood insurance, but the other thing too is they're building everything right up to the curb.
Yes.
Right to the curb.
Yeah.
Because out of 15 acres, they only have about 4.5 acres that they can build on. But right up to the curb.
Yeah, I think is this. That's not an issue to me. Having big front lawns is to me is I'm not a fan of that. I like things built to the
If the
curb.
design of the building are appropriate for Salem, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Front-
Well, again, in other words, I have other issues with the project, but not being, being up against the street is actually. I mean, you're better off with that space in the back where you can enjoy it and with privacy.
Right.
So if all these single-family houses up in Ward 4 were built right to the street, pretty much on the street, they would give them a big backyard. As opposed to having a medium-sized front yard and a medium-sized backyard with 30-foot frontage in the front, 20-foot setback in the back, and it make much more sense to put it right on the curb, pretty much, and have a big backyard,
Right.
and be much more family-friendly.
Well, the other thing is you talk about family there. There are going to be families because they're going to be 2 and 3 bedroom apartments or condos finally, whatever way they go.
And this is where?
At the Bertini's.
Bertini's?
One person was at the meeting and brought up, it was Polly Wilbert. She said, if you have families moving in, I haven't heard you talk one bit about what you're going to provide for a playground area for these families to have their children play outside.
Yeah.
Or to go outside.
They got a
And the
swimming-
next
we got a
meeting they
swimming
came
pool.
back with
Outdoor.
We got a
what,
swimming
Tom?
pool.
Outdoor.
Tom, what did they come back with the next meeting? What was the thing to the answer to this one? You already mentioned
outdoor
it.
pool, they'll be used only
swimming
for 2 or
pool.
3 months.
Yeah.
2 or 3 months a year, an outdoor pool.
Yeah.
It has to be fully maintained, otherwise there'll be accidents coming in.
Right,
Children,
yeah.
Salem State students
And
coming
again,
over.
you get more than 2 months out of it. You're going to get 3. But yeah, it's not a.
But the nearest school, for the high school, is the high school. The nearest school is the Salem School. It's good walking distance for kids. They don't need busing. In that area.
Remember that conversation being taking place a lot by former city councilor of Ward 7, Steve Dibble. Eventually, when they move out, Horsemen, they leave Ward 7 without any school.
That's right.
Actually, they don't thinking about the family. Just to your point, Teasie. There's no school over there. There's no elementary school nearby. Whoever lives in Ward 7 need to have transportation or need to have a way to get to school. So they are not thinking on Ward 7 at this point. I think that we need to find solution for that. Anything that we build, we need to understand that we have to provide a very complete way of how to develop the community, not only one side. Right now, we're only thinking about building a housing that, like you mentioned at the beginning, do not really meet the need of most of the people that live in that area. So we need to understand that Ward 7 need to have an elementary school soon. Yeah. That's something that needs to be addressed. And I'm one of the voices. I live in Ward 7 myself. I have my grandchildren, I'm fortunate that I don't live there, but if they decided to move to Ward 7, they're going to have that issue right away. So we need to think about that.
Okay, yeah, because we used to have Horace Mann, which was on
That's right.
Yep.
Central Campus, not Central Campus, North Campus, I guess it was. Now it's the only campus in a way, it's expanded. But
Well, I have three school committee people here, and I can say busing is becoming more and more expensive.
yeah,
And now, where was it? It was just on the news about the mayor who said that he has to go all the way back for his middle school people and have them walk 2 miles to school, that they don't qualify for a bus because he can't afford all the buses that they need in where he lives.
Salem Mayor said that?
Not Salem, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
But busing is
Very
forever.
expensive.
Yep.
Very.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. And,
Well, Salem doesn't have
yeah.
their own buses anymore.
Yeah, and it is, and the thing is, you look at the different prices of things, the cost of things. It's more costly to have, see, I always, and I'm an advocate of it, but it's more costly to have neighborhood elementary schools. Because,
Would be wonderful.
but
Would be
the cost is cost prohibitive nowadays.
Right.
So at a certain point in time, now, I walked, we didn't have buses when I was growing up in Lynn. I don't remember any school buses at all. I walked probably a mile from my neighborhood, which was in the Highlands, to Easton Junior High School. And then I probably walked 3/4 of a mile to English High School before I moved to Salem in my junior year. And because I lived very close to Salem High School.
I taught 20 years in Lynn. There's still neighborhood schools.
Yeah.
Very few busing. Big buses, all small special ed buses.
Okay.
I remember Jim.
Actually, excuse me one more. The city of Salem has a city of Lynn has a much less cost per student than the city of Salem. I mean, significantly less.
Yes.
And they don't fare much worse, if it worse at all. They don't fare any worse. They might fare even better than the city of Salem does on the statewide rankings for schools. So.
Yeah, I just want to say that I remember when Gene was fighting, and I think there was a legit fight when we had, for some reason, the privatization of the public transportation. At that point, I remember that was brought out by Jim and people who was organizing that. We need to have some type of public transportation if we don't want to have a neighborhood school. I think that's one of the issues that we're facing right now. So now, fast forward, we see exactly the reaction of not having this transportation, not having neighborhood school. So those factors that we discussed back on, say, maybe 10 or something year, now we see the reaction. Now we see that we have some issues in Salem, and we're going to continue to have issues in Salem for the bad decision that we took back in the days. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying back on the 4R, that people need to get involved. We need to speak out. We need to come out and say, hey, this is not what we need in Salem. Let's do it now before it's too late. Because when they take the decision, when they make the decision, and right after, there's going to be no solution. There's not going to be no solution if we allow that to happen here. It's going to be a chaos in Salem.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, is, the cost prohibitive. I agree wholeheartedly with that. And part of the reason is tracing it back is a cultural one and also a religious one because of parochial schools. That's when the city really got hit. It was each closing of each school that we had. And we had them in almost every district here in Salem for the parochial school.
Okay. Jim fought very hard for a new high school, a brand new high school. So the brand new high school will be a middle school, high school, where it is now. So I think we'll go more neighborhood schools. Let's say the Salton's School will be a K through 5.
Yep.
So I think it's going to go more neighborhood.
So the project that we're doing is going to be a middle school and a high school?
Correct.
Okay. And so will Collins still exist, or is that going to be converted to
be converted to some other school use.
elementary school?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And that's a good building. It's an old building,
Oh, yeah.
but it's a good building.
Yeah.
It's a good building.
It's better than the high school. I mean, I went to what's Collins Middle School. Once I moved to Salem, I went to Salem High School. That's where Salem High School was, and it's much more solid than the new Salem High School. I mean, that building is 80 years older than the new Salem High School and in much better shape. We're not talking about tearing it down and rebuilding it because it's in such bad shape.
Absolutely.
Well, all the schools we talk about, you can go from the Pickering School up there,
Pickering
right?
School, Bauer School,
To two
Phillips
schools,
School.
Cogswell and what was it, Sheridan.
Sheridan.
And you can come down to each area that we had.
I know.
We had schools that are still standing and are
And we
providing
sold them
housing.
off to developers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We voted to sell off one, where the North Shore Children's thing is on Boston Street.
Yeah, we did.
What school
The old
was that?
Endicott.
Endicott.
Endicott, yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay. We voted, when I was on the school committee with you, we voted to sell that. We transferred to the city, who then sold it off.
They were
Okay,
all they were all brick, right? Brick. Yeah.
Oh, some of them would.
Okay. Sort of good news for apartments in Salem, a little bit of good news here. Judge ruled against a condo owner who was renting out to Airbnb, did not have approval, and the city of Salem has a limit on the amount of Airbnb apartments they allow. So that's actually, will probably slow the growth of Airbnb in the city of Salem. So that sort of works, for that.
Where was that?
What's that?
Where was that?
Oh, I didn't put it down which place it was, but.
Right near the Knights of Columbus on the Common. Right near the Knights of Columbus.
Oh, was
on the
it?
Common.
Okay.
Right there, on that street.
Okay. Governor Healy signed a bill expanding veteran benefits. We were talking about veterans housing. Are you familiar at all with this veterans thing? Is it,
No, I'm not familiar with it, and I hope it works.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
It just seems, we spend a lot of money doing other things, and,
Yeah, the
and we're
federal
not taking
government-
care of our own residents.
The federal government has created this PAC Act, and that has been very, very helpful to veterans. It might solve some of the homelessness of veterans living on the street. It covers a lot of veterans.
Yeah.
I'm taking one veteran from Salem up to Bedford VA tomorrow to try to enroll him. It's a very, 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 very well thought out Biden program.
Okay. Okay.
Well, Mike,
yeah.
Chamber of Commerce, I know, I don't think you wouldn't be with now because you sold your place, but do they still have a ribbon cutting when businesses open up?
Yeah, I get emails still from them, and they do ribbon cuttings all the time. Any chamber member who wishes to have a ribbon cutting, and when they open a new business or do something new like that, all they do is call down to the chamber office, and I'm sure they've been scheduled something for them.
Oh, no, I'm just saying because a happy thing with Stacia Kraft and Jane Capuccio Sopa, who are opening a new business this week over on Jefferson Ave.
Okay.
And I just wondered if they still have that
Well,
ribbon.
again, they would obviously need to be chamber members, otherwise, they're not, so they would have to join the chamber because the chamber does it. I mean, that doesn't mean the mayor won't go and do a ribbon cutting, but the Chamber of Commerce deals with members. It's a members organization. They advocate for their members, they're paid members, etc. Again, I'm not active at all with the chamber. I haven't been active for many, many years, actually, although I was a member still, but I haven't been active for many, many years. But yeah, they do ribbon cuttings, it seems like every week, just about.
Yeah, well, I say good luck to them
So
opening
what
up
type
a
of
business.
business does Stacia Kraft open? Stacia Kraft
It's going to be, some type of probably historic types of furniture or different things like that. I don't think you call it really antiques. I'm not positive, but
Okay.
I know that's what the two of them.
So used furniture?
The what?
Used furniture?
Not used. in other words,
Historical.
if you had a 100-year-old door someplace,
Yeah.
and
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I know what you mean, yeah. So restored,
Yeah.
there's
I
places that
think
take
that's what
apart
it
old
is, yeah.
houses and they save all the doors and the hinges and the window frames and all that and the weights that were
Mantles.
inside. Yeah.
Mantles.
Yeah.
Oh,
things like
yeah,
that.
this-
Okay.
yeah. I'll tell you because I own, my husband and I, David, the historic house on Salem and on 300, and sometimes it's very hard, not to be able to restore it to where it should be if something happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
To go back to Airbnb, that's a real hindrance to the rental unit. So that the neighbors on Boardman Street caught that situation from getting out of
I'm
hand.
glad to hear
It's got to send a message citywide because Airbnb is really shutting down the rental units. For people who really want to get into a rental unit, Airbnb is trying to make the money. So Boardman Street residents really rallied very hard, and I think they're going to send a strong message throughout the whole city.
Right,
Open
yeah.
that up.
Yeah, again, I mean, if you build a hotel someplace, you need to get a permit. If I'm living in an apartment building, a 3-unit apartment building, a triple decker, the idea is that it's I have a neighbor below and a neighbor above or whatever. It's not going to be a neighbor every other night. And that's a whole different thing. I just think, again, zoning should preclude Airbnb, except in designated areas and very limited things. But because there's a lot of money there for it,
Big time.
People are just skirting the thing. So anyway, so that's good. So it was Boardman Street. Yeah, I remember
Yes,
that.
right off the common, near the old Knights of Columbus.
Okay.
But right now, isn't everything that's going on in Salem bumping into each other? Airbnb and then overlays and this one and this. They've got so many things going that people don't know if they're coming or going.
Okay. Markey, Senator Markey and Representative Moulton toured the site of the South Salem proposed rail station. Both expressed support for it. As we've talked quite a bit on this show, Tom, you're a very strong advocate for it. The rest of us are lukewarm at best. Again, some people are opposed to it, and again, I have no opposition to the theory of a rail station there. What I'm opposed to is the fact that we're talking $35 million or whatever to build a stop. I mean, I just think for a system that loses money, that's being subsidized by taxpayers, I just think it's an absorbent amount, and again, that's been my opposition. But anyways, they said they're supportive of it. Maybe it comes with federal money, enough to get it done. Who knows? It'd have to be a lot of money because even if they paid 90% of it, from my point of view, it's $3 million is way too much to put a sign there that says stop here.
But Lynn is getting a brand new MBTA station, MBTA garage.
Yeah.
Huge cost there, and they got a new train stop up the way from there, and we should have that equal treatment. Beverly has 4. Lynn has a brand new stop, safer than the garage downtown Lynn.
Okay, let's talk about the Lynn station. The Lynn station was built 35 years ago. They built a garage at a Lynn station, and it's trashed. They're taking it down.
Yes.
How does that happen? How does that happen? Just like the current Salem High School, they want it's in such disrepair they want to tear it down, and yet the old Salem High School, which is over 100 years old, is still going strong. It's just such a waste of money. But the thing is this: the people who approve it, when the stuff hits the fan, the people who approve it are not in office anymore, and therefore they can't take blame. When I was on the school committee with Jim, because he was on a lot longer, there was a problem with the record keeping having to do with, I think, Saltonstall School, the finances. We paid money to St. Anne's to rent their school, and we didn't keep track of all the things. So we ended up having to give back $3.5 million to the state, if I remember the numbers correct, and this is 20 years ago, because we didn't keep the right records. Well, I couldn't be blamed. I wasn't on the school committee at the time. Jim couldn't be blamed. He wasn't on the school committee at the time. You were not on the city council at the time. You were not on the city council. None of us could be blamed. And yet the city is out $3.5 million.
We got stuck, Domingo and I got stuck on the city council for a parking garage in downtown Salem that was built in the 70s, low bid contract situation there, asbestos and everything. Millions of dollars have been pumped in. Domingo and I on the city council worked very hard to revitalize that.
Yeah. And that's
like the Link garage, as we were talking, falling apart.
Did you have to pay individually?
No, we don't have to, but the city has to.
I think that would have been fair.
So anyways, that by virtue of the fact that two high-powered local senator, U.S. senator and U.S. rep are down there touting it, maybe one of these absurd federal spending bills they'll pay an absurd amount of money to get this thing built. But
Hey, what does it take, do they plan how they're going to destroy neighborhoods? Because that seems to be happening all the time now. And like we said, like over there for the High Street area, Endicott Street and everything, what's happening there, that is crushing the neighborhood. Every neighborhood's been touched.
I think that they don't have the intention to destroy completely the neighborhood. They just had the intention to favor some power group to make sure that they actually put their vision in place. Because when you see the bottom line on construction that we have here, the developers are the one that had the bigger pie, the bigger portion. They think that maybe by allowing them to build more, will help the whole city. And eventually, the last people they think about is the residents. But to your point, I don't think they think about destroying completely the neighborhood. They just wanted to continue to advance in their own mind, and they don't care about the little people.
Well, that's all they have to do is listen to the people who have gone to these meetings, and they share with them their feelings, and
Well,
they
those
just
people aren't
think
experts. We have experts sitting at the table. At
Oh,
the
you
table
think so?
front. Those are the people that know what's right.
Oh,
Just
really?
like all the experts that decided to tear down downtown Salem.
Yep.
During the urban renewal.
60s.
Urban renewal.
Yeah, urban renewal back in the 60s.
Yes.
We had an incident in Lynn. We had Union Street in Lynn. Every business, every storefront was full and vibrant and all that. And then they came in with a mall. They built a mall like the Salem Mall, which they have since torn up because it decimated the downtown. We had all these stores down there were doing good, and it decimated the downtown. There was a Baskin Robbins that I was an all too frequent visitor to, and they said their business after 6 o'clock at night dropped 95%, and that was a busy time for them. They were out of business within a year. They had been there for like 10 years. They went out of business within a year once they built this. And so many of the businesses did, and again, it got so bad that they've actually torn it up and put a street back there. And so this is the thing. You have, just like the street situation we had here in Salem. Back, this is one thing I held against Neil Harrington. Not so much that they tried it, but the fact that they were so dismissive of criticism of it. And I went to a meeting, and because I wasn't opposed to it at first, but I went to a meeting, and at the meeting,
Just to change the flow and this,
right, it was it made Washington Street one way, heading north, and so we went to a meeting, and the planner is there, not the city planner, the hired planner who designed the streets, and he said, "Look, I gave you a plan, and here it is." In the first paragraph, it says the plan must be implemented. If you do it piecemeal, it's not going to work. And they did it piecemeal because they couldn't do it all at one time. And so it was piecemeal. And then the assistant mayor or whatever, very snottily, from my point of view, I remember this very well, said, "Well, I noticed you cashed a check," or some such thing like that. Well, of course they cashed a check. Whether the plan works or not, they designed a plan and they were paid to design a plan. So in any event, that's the thing. What happens in all these things, you get these experts up there, and they know, and you can't tell them nothing about nothing, and so this is why these type of things happen.
That's why, Mike, we need to change from the type of government we have to
Okay.
a city planner.
Okay, but take a look at the parking garage. Here it is. People say about the the MBTA parking garage. People said about the parking garage. Okay, fine. We like the parking garage, but can you design it a little differently? Can you design it? Well, this is too early in the design process. Too early in the design process. Then all of a sudden, oh well, we're past that point of the design process. We can't do it, and that happened there. Now, we weren't asking for anything outlandish.
Just
We were
more-
asking what the MBTA garage, which was built after that or approved after that, looks like. I mean, that fits much more into Salem than what this
right.
modern art in quotation marks thing. The way they designed the courthouses, again, first phase, the 10% phase or the 20% phase. Oh no, we're not talking about facade yet. We're not. Oh, 25% phase facade's already set. Can't do it now. This is just what they continue to do. I know I'm rambling on here about this, but it's just so.
No, yes, to your point, I think this is the mentality of the people in power. They don't really mind about the residents' opinion. They have their agenda already made up from day one, and they're going to forward that agenda and make it happen no matter what.
Yeah. Okay, we're just about out of time. I just want to repeat a couple of things. A petition drive to from the citizens for a better Salem to fight against the Chapter 40R. The petition is Say No to Warehousing and Chapter 40R. That will be taking place Saturday, the 24th of August from 10 to noon in front of the post office. The other thing here is a pasta dinner fundraiser for the Friends of Salem Council on Aging, and that's going to be held Thursday, September 19th. Tickets are $15 prepaid, $12 for seniors. You contact Rosanna at the Community Life Center, 978-744-0924. At some point in time, we're going to run out here. Anyone have something they want to jump in?
Well, I would like to say from us to the family of Julianne Taché, who passed away this month.
Okay, yeah.
She was Julie was young. It was a shame.
Yeah.
She's a loss, a real loss.
Yeah.
So
I got the family, the whole Taché family, into the Sports Hall of Fame because they're so involved in sports and charity and benefits in Salem. A wonderful family, the Taché family. And I got the whole family in.
Yeah, I remember that Julie died, 6 months ago, was it?
Yes, very tragic.
Yeah, but she was
Julie died
of age,
she
but this
had all-
Juliana
59.
was quite young.
59.
Yeah.
yeah.
Joe was a great athlete. I think he went to
It's
University of Cincinnati. That was Julie's husband.
Yeah.
And the two boys that are now in the movie business. I don't remember what their names were, but they were very active in sports.
Tashers?
Yeah.
But they're
Jerry-
twins, I think.
Yeah, the boys, two boys, twins,
Twins.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got them involved too.
Yeah.
Joe was at Salem State College, Joe Taché, and a football player too.
Okay. Well, not at Salem State. They know football.
They're a
there.
good family, great family.
Okay.